Good morning. Thank you so much, Maya. And thank you, all of you, for joining this timely and vital discussion. I want to, just as a starting point, I want to congratulate Maya and her team at GPS again for organizing last night yet another marvelous Asset Builder Champions Award program. I also want to acknowledge the GPS team's fundamental contributions, formative contributions, leading contributions to making this day possible for all of us. They always do great work, and Maya, as you know, is always a very tough act to follow. She's so eloquent, she's so gracious, so lovely. I'll do my best. Last night, for those of you who were able to attend, was indeed a very inspiring evening and a real reminder of the value of the work that we all do together and the seminal leaders and the partners who most inform that work. Today's program is an especially important one, obviously, as we enter another presidential campaign season and yet another set of very big challenges for our nation, challenges dealing with our rapidly changing demography and persistent institutionalized racial disparities in our various systems of justice, education, housing, employment, finance, and health, among others. It is a very pivotal time in our history, one in which we have come to what I would call an essential crossroads as a nation. It is a time for declaration. Shall we continue to strive to be a nation of real democratic opportunity and shared prosperity? Or, instead, will we drift further towards a dog-eat-dog, survival-of-the-fittest model of living that fundamentally undercuts our common interests and our ability to peacefully coexist? This is the fundamental issue, I would argue, of our lifetimes, but it is not a new question. Let me take you back a little bit. Remember that classic Hollywood Christmas film, It's a Wonderful Life, starring Jimmy Stewart? It's the story of a small-town savings and loan man, George Bailey of Bedford Falls, who is constantly battling against the competitive dominance, prejudices, and exploitation of the town's richest man, Potter. Remember how in the movie George at some point wants to end it all, but he gets a gift from heaven in the form of a guardian angel named Clarence, the opportunity to see what the world would be like had he never been born. And remember how in the process of that peek at what might have been, George Bailey comes much more clearly to appreciate that the world is a better and kinder place because he was a part of it and because he was able to give back. It turns out that because George and his family have committed themselves to doing well by doing good in their community, the Bailey Savings and Loan Company has helped many of the town's most vulnerable individuals to gain a piece of the American dream. The Bailey Savings and Loan Company has enabled many poor immigrant families, like the Italian Martini family, to buy decent, affordable homes, compared to the very slumlord conditions that Mr. Potter's housing enables. It has also allowed George and the Baileys to gainfully employ and integrate into the family culture an African-American female domestic worker named Annie, and to help a local troubled woman friend named Violet Bick to pursue a new start in life outside of Bedford Falls after she comes on hard times. When George, who is always helping everyone, finds himself in a very life-threatening situation, he feels isolated, he feels defeated, he feels worthless, he feels forgotten. But his guardian angel Clarence helps George to see that his common cause with others, George's, his generosity, and his embattled but finally very honest way of living has actually made the world a far better place, not just for George and the people immediately surrounding him, but for the entire community. George has the opportunity at one point of his divine journey to see what life in Bedford Falls would be like had he never been born to do so much good in the world. What he sees is dark and disturbing. Bedford Falls is no longer that at all in the absence of George's life, a place where families and communities can come together and enjoy a high quality of life. The place is now called Pottersville, named after his nemesis, Mr. Potter. In Potterville, there is no decent, affordable housing for immigrant families like the Martinis. There is no impulse towards racial justice for the likes of Annie. No kindness for the likes of a woman needing a second chance, like Violet Bick. In Potterville, greed, power, and debauchery rule the day. It's every person for himself or herself. Now, think about this. The movie It's a Wonderful Life was completed now nearly 70 years ago in 1947, but its content and message, I'm sure you will agree, are enduring, and possibly, I would argue, even more relevant for our current times than was the case when the movie was actually filmed. Today in America, people like those of us assembled here stand on the brink of facing a dangerous point of no return, wherein we are all modern-day George Baileys. We are all giving witness to a sad and possibly irrevocable decline in our moral and material quality of life as a nation. In response, we have to redouble our efforts, deepen our common bonds, and work harder than ever before, perhaps, to ensure that we do not allow America to become Potterville. We can and we must join hands to rekindle the waning social contract that made America a great nation in the 19th and 20th centuries. We must ensure that our society, our economy, and our politics build towards more productive, sustainable, and unifying outcomes. We must resist allowing our decisions as a society to lean towards increasing the economic and other gaps we see growing between diverse population groups, classes, and regions across our country. Somehow, some way, we need to reset our very purposes and values as a nation to coincide much more honestly and much more closely with our original intents, our original impulses to form a more perfect union. Somehow, some way, we need to join forces even more fully and more intentionally to say that our current path is simply not acceptable. And in that process, rather than just being against what is presently in play, we need to be clear about what it is that we are for instead. And then we need to make what we are for far more a reality through very active organizing, advocacy, and public leadership. This work, the work of reimagining and resuscitating our waning social contract, is probably the single most important imperative those of us in this room and others around us, all of us, will face for the balance of our lifetimes. It promises to be damned hard work that will even further stretch us in the years to come, if that is believable, because I know we're all working way overtime and have been for some time. But thinking about our inspiring awards event last night and looking out over this most impressive, talented, assembled audience, I'm confident, optimistic, even expectant that we can and we will do this. Last night, our awards program host, Kelvin Boston of the PBS Network, reminded us of the imperative to maintain vigilance in nurturing and perfecting our political, economic culture in America. Vigilance. The change we seek is not going to come by waiting for someone else to do the work that must be done. It is finally up to us and our allies to do the heavy lifting that is required to move in this new direction. Throughout this day, this very important and well-crafted day, we will thus not be passive observers or even not merely active listeners. We must all focus instead on the actions, the specific choices, and the particular sacrifices that will be necessary to bear together to be the change that we seek. It's a daunting charge, but I cannot think of a better or more able group than this one to take that charge on. With that, please join me one more time in extending gratitude to all who have created this timely and sacred space for our important interactions. Maya Rockamore and her very able team at GPS, key members of my staff who are here with us, Ann Price and Gabriela Sandoval, and our major sponsors from Ford Foundation, Prudential Financial, and the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Without the efforts of leaders like these working in tandem and liaison with leaders like all of you, we will be doomed to watching our nation become forevermore a version of Potterville. On the other hand, by coming together, by co-creating a better future going forward, and by demanding more and different and more sustainable resources to enable our cause for the vulnerable populations that we all work with and for, we can remake history for the better. And Just like George Bailey, in that process, we and our nation can all be far better off for that. Thank you so much for your attention and your patience with my opening thoughts, for all the good work, all the good ideas, and all the commitment that you bring to this discussion. I very much look forward to our exchanges and deliberations throughout this very, very well planned out day. And with that, I look to Dr. Maya Rockamore to carry us forward. Thank you so much.